Hi everyone, it's Fred again from Notes of a Nomad, video number 289. Want to tell you what I did last week. Went to the United Kingdom, went to Newcastle on Tyne, met some interesting people from Agra speakers, and saw some fascinating places while I was there, and met some wonderful people. So let me share with you what I did last week. I just got in, so this video is a little bit late this week, in case you're asking where's the video? But it's here it is. So let me share my screen and show you what I was up to in the past week. I ended up going to AgoraCon 2025, which if you notice here, it is Newcastle on Tyne. It's a bit small printing, but this is where it was held. And my main contact was this gentleman here by the name of Les Hodgson. Les is the ambassador for Agra speakers for the United Kingdom. He invited me to come and stay with him while I visited. And I learned long ago when somebody invites you, you should say yes because you'll often be sorry. And if I had said no, I definitely, after having been there, would have been sorry. This is Les's house. Very fascinating because it wasn't originally a house. It was where they taught seamen about radar and was a training school with big, classrooms, etc. But he bought it and converted it to a house and had to have it rezoned for a residential area. But it's right on the beach. So if we zoom in a little bit, we'll see some of the old buildings in the back across the river and down on the river. I will show you a picture of when we get to the river and what you see. But this is an amazing house because he's converted the classrooms into different suites as well. So this is an example of the upstairs, the kitchen, and if we look out the window, let me expand this a little bit, and we look out the window, we'll see the buildings that I was showing you from down on the pathway there. So this is the lounge and the kitchen, and there's a downstairs, there's two suites. So one family members can stay at, or it can be rented out. So he had a lot of room. So he said, "Come and stay with me. I've got lots of room," which he certainly did have. And that was looking out the window. So you can see, if you look out the window, you'll see there's the English Channel. And the River Tyne is very close as well. So this is a fascinating place to be. And if we walk down to the end of the pathway, we come to the river. And this is the building. It's now sort of a museum, so to speak, because it's not being actively used. And if I go to the next slide, when I expand it, it tells you when it was built. This is a watch house, was served as headquarters of the South Shields. That's where we are, just south of Newcastle on Tyne. And South Shields, and it shows you what they used to do is shoot cables in boats, where apparently was very difficult, um, and lots of shipwrecks in the area. So this was the South Shields Volunteer Life Brigade, was formed in 1866. And this building was upgraded and was completed in its current layout in 1879. So it was interesting, and Les apparently had volunteered as a guide to that building, when people want to go into the history. And this is looking at the end of the pathway across the river to some of the old buildings in the area. So that's, shows you some of the historic sites that are in the close in the area. And if we walk along the other path, we get end of the path away from the river. We get to one of the beaches, and this was the beach Sandhaven. And uh, also, while I was there, I was treated to a guided tour to the St. James Park, which is where the football team, or soccer team as we'd call it in North America, for Newcastle United. And it goes through the history and talks about this stadium. Now, Newcastle United, these fans are, it's, as I think Les said, that is a religion. And I met some of the people I met. This is, a very big part of their life. The stadium fits currently 52,000 people. Unfortunately, that's not enough. They just sold out. You can't get tickets and they need to expand it. But the challenge of expanding it is, for example, why don't they just build this side up? Well, they're not allowed to because these are historical buildings and it prevents the sunlight from coming in those buildings, so they cannot go any higher. So they went higher on this side. And there's all sorts of discussions on what options they could do, build it somewhere else, but that's not in the minds of many people because this particular building started, or this football field started over about 150 years ago, approximately. So that's a challenge, but it was fascinating to be able to go and visit because we went down. This is the field, and you could see they were watering the grass. It's pristine, absolutely amazing. And also, there's Les. And this was where we went to um, the room where they interview people, sort of the newsroom. So that's, I guess, after a game or prior to a game, they would have the some of the team members or the coaches answering the journalists' questions about it. And I don't have pictures of it here, but we also went to the change rooms, the away team, not a very fancy change room, but when you get to the home team's room, it's unbelievably plush. So they really look after their home team when they're playing at home, and they don't look after the away team who are visitors that much. It's quite amazing. And we saw some of the private boxes where people wine and dine while they are watching the game. So it was very interesting, especially when you see the history of the football team. The other area which was very fascinating to me was only about 2 kilometers from where Les lives is a one of the oldest Roman forts in the area, or probably in at least in the United Kingdom. And this was showing us what happened in this building in started in just the year what was it 120, and that was the first building, and then they built a new stone fort which is for about 120 cavalry and 480 football soldiers, and they've rebuilt some of the buildings there. And it was fascinating to see where the foot soldiers stayed, very cramped quarters. But when you got up to the the big shot there, it was fantastic. His family was there, and quite an amazing villa, basically, that he was staying in. Quite amazing. So it was what a interesting historical site. And we walked around and saw a lot about that. There's some of the reconstructions. There's Les at the gate of one of the reconstructed areas, and I was standing there as well at the actual gate to the fort original. And then I spent time with the members of Agra speakers who were hosting the AgoraCon session. And this was the room, and some of them, there's cameras here, and they were the host or the master of ceremonies, and the other master of ceremonies and people were sitting around waiting for their turn. So there were two of the master of ceremonies um, who were on camera and were talking to the rest of the people around the world for Agra speakers for AgoraCon 2025. So that was fascinating to be involved in that, watching what was going on and what they were hosting and some of the videos, etc. Then I flew back, and I found this fascinating too, because you just think, oh, I'm just coming from England, I'd be coming across to Canada. But we went over Greenland, and it's the shorter trip. So we went over the Arctic Ocean, and we're seeing where Hudson Bay and Manitoba and coming into Canada. It was wonderful watching where we were on the map. This is the monitor, obviously, in the back seat of the airplane. So, we're coming in and we were flying across Canada to go to Seattle. So when I got to Seattle, this was the luggage area. I had to collect my luggage and then rebook it to Victoria. So that was my fascinating time that I spent last week. And I'm so glad that Les offered me saying, "Hey, come and stay with me." And I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad once again when somebody says, "Come and visit," I said yes. It was a wonderful week, meeting wonderful people, seeing some amazing places. So with that, I hope you had a great week. Bye for now. Lots of love and laughter to your family and friends. Until next time, adios, au revoir from Fred and Notes of a Nomad.